another episode of Bikes with Drew. Excuse the mess, we're starting to pack for a camping trip across Canada. That's going to be a different video series that comes out later this summer. We're heading there, basically driving from Eastern Ontario all the way out to Vancouver Island and back. We're documenting some cool things along the way, but yeah, so stay tuned for that. Today though, boy am I excited. I got my handlebars. This was actually one of the first pieces that showed up in the mail when I started buying all the parts to upgrade this bike. But the handlebars are actually a different size than the original ones that come on this. So what that meant was the stem had to be changed as well. So of course, went ahead and ordered a stem, and then that kind of got lost in the COVID-19 mail crisis in Canada here. So the stem finally showed up today, and I can't wait to show you guys. It's got a really cool top cap. I'm going to keep that as a surprise until the end. But basically what that means now is that I can go ahead and swap out the stem and the handlebars on this. So let's get to it. So one of the things about your stem and your handlebars is that it's really going to dictate how, aggressive would be a good word to describe it, but your general riding position. So the further up, or I should say the longer your stem is, the further in front of your pivot point that you're steering along your hands will be. So kind of think of it like if the wheels on your car, you're sitting behind them, right? But how weird would it feel if you were in the driver's seat up here, steering with wheels that are kind of behind you? That's sort of what's going on with a bicycle when your hands are up close, like are further away from the, when you have a longer stem, your hands are actually in front of your pivot point. So the closer you can come down to that pivot point, it makes so that it's a bit more crisp and a bit, like I said, a bit more aggressive. Another thing that you can do is actually make your bars come out wider. So riding a longer or a wider bar. And what that's going to do is, let me just back you guys up here, is basically give you more of an advantage when you think of it as, if you're doing climbs or if you're going down hills, you're almost in a push-up position, right? So if your hands are in tight like this because you've got a narrower setup, it's a lot harder to breathe and it's a lot harder to do your push-ups and actually work properly. Whereas if you spread everything out, A, you're going to open up your lungs and open up your chest, and B, it's going to be a lot easier for you to do that push-up movement when you're going over terrain like this. So this is going to be about 40 or 50 millimeters wider. So instead of me sitting like this on my old setup, I'm going to be able to move my hands out quite a bit further and make that a lot more comfortable and more aggressive when you're going around tight turns. So I'm looking forward to this upgrade. It's going to make a big difference in how this bike handles. Going from a traditional like cross-country setup to more of a trail, modern downhill kind of feel. So let's get that to it. So one of the things I love about bikes too is how simple all of these upgrades are going to be. Essentially a good set of Allen keys, and you can get away with a lot of the work that needs to be done. I'm not saying all you need to work on your bike is Allen keys. What I'm saying is that with a good set, most of what you need to do can be done. So the first thing that needs to happen if I'm changing out the bars in the stem is to basically, these bars need to be stripped of all the brakes and shifters, as well as the grips that are on here. But what I want to do is put the new stem and new handlebars on, and then that way I can put everything on one at a time, right? So what I'm going to do first is actually remove the stem so that I can pull all of the old stuff off and replace everything in one piece, and then go one at a time and put everything back. So now that I've got the top cap off and the stem loosened, I can slide that right off. And basically you're just gonna have the top end of your fork tube exposed. So now, with the new stem here, I can go ahead and loosen that up a little bit and then see if I'm gonna have to make any adjustments to my head tube. I'm hoping I don't have to, so I can just slide this on quickly for you guys. And I might end up needing a spacer, but I think I'll be able to get away with that. So let's go ahead and loosen up these parts of the stem here. so that I can slide the bars in nicely. And I mean, you can take it all the way off if you want to. Really what I'm doing is just loosening them so that the bars can slide in. And then that should slide in right like that. What you want to do is make sure it's centered. It's easy when there's graphics to make sure something's centered. And I'd say right about there looks good. I'm not going to tighten this down 100%, but I'm going to have it so that it doesn't slide around. I'll do a final tightening when I give everything a once over at the end, because I still want to be able to make adjustments to it if I have to, right? So I'm going to go ahead and slide this back onto the steerer tube, like that, and then tighten up these bolts. So it turns out that I did need a couple of spacers here, because when you get your stem on, once everything's set down, you want to have a bit of a gap in between the top of your tube and your stem, so that when your top cap goes on, that can actually pinch everything together, and that's going to help seat your crown race and all that fun stuff together. So I'm going to use the old top cap again to save the new one for a surprise at the end, and I'm going to go ahead now and put this in, as well as make sure the front tire's all lined up and everything's all centered. So now that that's on, I can go ahead and loosen these two sides, what's pinching it on the back, and then go ahead and try and get it as straight as possible. Usually by eye this is pretty easy to do and you'll get fairly close. So now that that's on there and eyeball straight, basically your handlebars are on, those are now turning your front wheel, everything looks good. It's just a matter of switching over all the stuff from your cockpit onto here. So you slide off the components as you go and then mount them back onto your bars and just make sure everything feels nice for your hands. Same thing, I'm going to speed up the videos. You guys don't have to take, don't have to watch me do that in regular speed. And then last but not least, we'll put on that fun top cap that I've been saving for the end for you guys. New stem is on, new bars are on, the cockpit's all remounted. I'm a lot wider than I was before, so I think I'm really going to like the feel of this because it's going to be, closer to my body and more aggressive, but at the same time wider, so it's going to mimic a better, like a push-up stance, right? Brakes feel good, shifter's in the right spot. So the last part that we're going to do here, I'm going to move the camera for you guys. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the top cap here. And something that I've always found throughout the years with sporting equipment and stuff like that is that people are always looking for a better one, an upgrade, etc. And they never take the time to enjoy and to love what they have. So what I'm going to do is put in a fun top cap because I like how it looks. It's not something that's going to make a huge difference on the bike. It's not something that's going to make it go faster or jump higher or feel better, but it looks cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in because I like how it looks. It's one of those things that, like, take pride in your bike, man. If you enjoy what you're doing and you like what you have, why not have a little bit of fun with it? If you want to buy the purple cables that you can find on Amazon, if you like how they look and they don't affect your riding in a negative way, then why not? Why wouldn't you use those fun purple cables? It's something that I've always, you know, I never really was the kind of guy who had to have the newest and the latest and the greatest. I do like nice things, don't get me wrong, but you know, to be that kind of person that's always chasing having the newest model and the coolest this and the coolest that, like, it must be exhausting. So I'm gonna loosen up my stem here just a little bit, because I noticed that my spacers aren't sitting exactly how I want them to be. And there you have it. That's my new blinged out top cap, my new bars and my new stem. Not too bad again for, you know, getting a bunch of stuff off of Amazon to try and upgrade this old bike. I'm still waiting on a fork. I mean, that's going to be a huge difference. And right now I'm kind of testing out some different saddles. I'm actually, this one's from Dollarama. I mean, for $4, it's not bad at all. But, you know, I'm still debating on what other things I want to do. I'm waiting on hydraulic brakes as well. Those are in the mail. But yeah, I mean, all this stuff aside, the most important thing to do is to go out and ride your bike. That's really what this is all about. Go ride your bike. Sure, it's fun to put some upgrades onto it, but if you're not out there riding, what's the point of building something if it's just going to sit in your garage, right? So, well, thanks again for tuning in. Sorry about the messy garage. Like I said earlier, we are going to be camping across Canada from Eastern Ontario all the way to Vancouver Island. So make sure to tune in for that when the videos go up. Go ahead and hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Not expected of you, but if you want to and want to help me out a little bit, by all means do that. Same thing, if you want to subscribe, that's awesome. And yeah, go ride your bike.